Hi guys, I've got a really cool wine to share with you today. This is a collector favorite that is sought after every single year, so I'm super excited to tell you about it. It is a producer called Lokoya. We're up in the mountain AVA of Mount Veeder in Napa Valley. So we're over in California. This is a US wine. I want to quickly explain what AVA means. So AVA stands for American Viticulture Area. These are areas across the US that are known for producing wine. So up in the mountains, we're in the Mount Veeder AVA, and this is such a fantastic wine and such a fantastic producer. Lokoya is actually owned by the Jackson family. If you know your American wines, you will most likely have come across the Jackson family. They produce incredible wines under various different labels. They're really well regarded over in the US. So Lokoya is one of the wines that they produce. A winemaker called Chris Carpenter actually is the winemaker for these wines, built up an incredible reputation. This one, being the 2019 specifically, has actually been likened by critics to Chateau Latour. So I'm going to sidetrack for a little bit to explain why that actually is important. Not only is it a 100-point wine, and this wine as well has collected a track record of 100 points over various different years. So these are incredible, incredible wines. But likened to Chateau Latour, why that actually matters. So this is an investment grade wine. We've got supply that exceeds demand. They only produce about 2,000 cases a year, so really small supply. And you've got that demand, which collectors chase this wine year after year. Now, Chateau Latour is a wine from Bordeaux. It's a first growth, so you've probably heard me talk about the 1855 Bordeaux classification, which basically means that in 1855 they said these are the best wines, and pretty much they've kept that reputation, those wines, since 1855. So that is essentially the benchmark that we look to in Bordeaux of what are the best wines. And Chateau Latour is a first growth, so you have first all the way to fifth growth. First is at the top of the hierarchy in terms of quality. Those are all investment grade wines. Incredible, incredible wines. Chateau Latour is, as I said, a first growth. Bordeaux is a maritime climate, so you've got a cooling influence off the coast. It produces incredible quality wines. It's been at the top of the hierarchy since 1855. That is an incredible track record in terms of reputation, quality, and collector demand. So this wine, Lokoya US wine, the 2019 specifically, so this exact bottle and vintage has actually been likened to Chateau Latour. That matters because it speaks to the quality of this wine. Being the US, we have a warmer climate, but we do have a cooling influence being in the mountains. So we've got elevation and altitude that becomes a cooling influence. What I find really interesting about this wine is generally Napa Valley, the cooling influence is fog that comes off the coast of California. So it splays into the valley, and that actually gives a little bit of coverage to the wines, so they're not ripening too quickly and diluting the flavor and reducing the acidity and becoming unbalanced. So that's why Napa Valley has great quality wines, because it's got that cooling influence of fog that helps to lengthen that grape ripening period, so acid levels drop more slowly, sugar levels rise more slowly. So we get a leaner but not less complex structure. That also is a structure. When you have higher acidity, it helps to drive the fruit forward. So we have that vibrancy and energy. And what I love about this wine and find so interesting about it is we've got altitude that's a cooling influence, but it actually sits, these vineyard sites actually sit above the fog line. So what that means is we've got a cool climate to lengthen that ripening period, but they are still getting the full exposure to the sun. So that means that we can fully lengthen those grapes, which means we have a beautiful balance between acidity and energy and fruit flavor profile. And also you get a better expression of terroir, because when you have a warmer climate and no cooling influence, the grape swells up, acid levels drop really quickly, sugar levels rise really quickly. As the grape swells, it's essentially swelling with water. And so that, when it swells up too much, actually dilutes the flavor profile. of that grape. And it can also step over into overripe or cooked flavors. So what I love about this is we've got that cooling influence of altitude, so we can lengthen that grape ripening period. Acid levels drop more slowly, sugar levels rise more slowly, so we can lengthen that grape ripening period. We've got the full exposure to the sun, so we can actually fully ripen that grape. This means that we have a great balance between acidity, which gives us energy and pushes the fruit forward, but it also means that we don't have a dilutive flavor profile in that grape. What's also really interesting about this wine is particularly Mount Veeder, so where this wine is made, is we have volcanic soils. So vines actually struggle in volcanic soils, and that's a good thing because it means they need to go deeper into the ground. We know with old vines, for example, the deeper that they ingrain in the ground to find those nutrients, the more nutrients and resources they're pulling up into that grape to fully build out that grape flavor profile. So they tend to have a greater flavor concentration. And this is an incredible producer. Likened to Chateau Latour, it's got 100 points. It's got a track record of 100 points. Since 1995, the Mount Veeder has collected around 14 100-point scores. So you've got track record. Most of them are scores that are well into the 90s. This one, 100-point score, likened to Chateau Latour, so one of the first growths, incredible quality. What I also love about Lokoya as a producer is they produce only Cabernet Sauvignon from across four different mountain AVAs. If you're someone that really wants to understand terroir and the influence, this is a fantastic producer because you've only got the one varietal and you're really getting an understanding when you taste them side by side of the expression of terroir. So things that influence that terroir are the soil type. You've also got the aspect. So even though they're mountain AVAs, they all sit above the fog line. They've got different soil types, different aspects. So that also changes the flavor profile. This is an incredible producer. Less than 2,000 cases produced per year. You've got that quality, those expertise, the reputation, the limited supply, the demand that exceeds it. This is why these wines are incredible quality. It's a combination of the reputation of the winemaker, so that skill that comes through, and it's also a combination of the terroir and the environment that that grape is growing in. So you've got a beautiful balance that shows, it really does. I also loved getting this wine in because it comes in an original wooden case. It's a 3-bottle wooden case, and I absolutely love getting wine in wooden cases. I think it's just such a fantastic experience. When you're looking at wines that are high quality, it's not just the wine that you get to enjoy, it's the entire experience, the quality of that experience. This is as well what collectors chase, is having that original wooden case, because you're essentially getting it in mint condition. So when we're talking about investment grade wines, these are collectibles. They're part of an alternative asset class called collectibles. So think cars, watches, handbags. And so the condition, like mint condition, does matter for collectors that are wanting to have these in their collection. This is a wine that is chased year after year. It's incredibly sought after. I can't speak highly enough about it. It's a fantastic producer. Being likened to Chateau Latour says it all. And yeah, I think in terms of US wines, you know, we hear about your Screaming Eagles, and that's an incredible wine. But there are so many other really high quality wines over in the US that are investment grade. And I think all of these producers, their wines really speak for themselves. I also really enjoy a wine from a mountain AVA. I love a Cab Sav. I think it's a fantastic wine in winter. And, you know, you've got that really nice tannin structure. But I love this wine because with those volcanic soils, with that acidity from that longer grape ripening period, you have that energy, but you have that mineral drive and that complexity. And you still have the beautiful fruit flavors that you would get in a Cab Sav, like those nice violet flavors that come through. And with that acidity, you've just got such drive that pushes that fruit forward. Incredible wine. Can't speak highly enough about it. And yeah, cheers.